The earliest historical mention of the mythological Sukuna came from the Nihon Shoki, a document compiled by the imperial family of Japan in 720, during the Nara period. This Sukuna shared much of the physical characteristics of his manga counterpart, including his 2 faces and 4 arms plus an additional pair of legs. He was said to have been at least 3 meters tall, and capable of wielding a bow, arrow, and swords with superhuman strength. The Nihon Shoki also labeled him as a rebel who refused to bow to the imperial seat, casting him as a murderous dissident who killed thousands upon thousands, and was only stopped when the emperor sent Shogun Takafurukuma no Mikoto to kill him. So far, not out of character considering what fans know about Ryomen Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen. However, there are some inconsistencies with that story. The Nihon Shoki places Sukuna in the Hida province, in what is now the northern portion of Japan's Gifu prefecture. If he were truly a bloodthirsty raider, stories of his brutality likely would have spread especially far in the region where he was most active. Yet the locals of Hida worship Sukuna not as a wrathful asura, but as a benevolent guardian. Far from the barbarity displayed by Jujutsu Kaisen's Ryomen Sukuna, the mythological Sukuna is said to have introduced Buddhism to Hida and built the ancient temple of Senku-ji. Some folk stories even say he slew an evil dragon and was one of the incarnations of the Bodhisattva of mercy, canon. Not the sort of saintly behavior you would expect for the source material of the King of Curses. A possible reason for this incongruency can be found in local legends. Allegedly, the Sukuna in the Nihon Shoki was either the name of the ruling figure or the ruling family of the lands around Hida, rather than a demonic bandit, walking disaster, sorcerer. However, when the Yamato imperial family invaded and took over the territory, they also spread a piece of propaganda claiming Sukuna was an evil specter who terrorized the people of Hida, further justifying their hostile takeover to the masses. Considering the Nihon Shoki was edited specifically by the emperor's family, the Yamato line would certainly have the motive and the means to depict Sukuna in the worst light possible. This might even be why Sukuna eventually received the moniker Ryomen, as Ryomen can be translated to mean two-faced, referencing both his literal 2 faces and contrasting reputations. Despite his status as a local hero, Sukuna's representation in popular culture has mostly fallen in line with the Nihon Shoki's descriptions, with works often depicting Sukuna as a malignant or demonic force bent on causing as much suffering as possible. To the point that Jujutsu Kaisen's Ryomen Sukuna's nickname as a walking calamity arose from its influence. Gurgur Akutami cited an urban myth from 2005 as one of the sources for his antagonist in an interview with Mondo Kobayashi. The legend itself mentions a mummified corpse with 2 faces, 4 arms and 2 legs, eerily familiar traits to those who know of Sukuna's legend. People who laid eyes on the mummy were rumored to meet extreme misfortune or sometimes die, and any place that held it was inevitably met with a catastrophic calamity. In the urban legend, the mummy's curse might have even caused the Great Kanto earthquake in Japan's Taisho era, 1912 to 1926, where a 7.9 magnitude quake devastated Tokyo and its surrounding regions. Akutami might have also referenced this in the cover art of the very first chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, where a 4-eyed mummy can be seen in the garb of a Sokushinbutsu, Buddhist monks who secluded themselves in the mountains, fasting and chanting mantras until they died in the hopes of reaching enlightenment. Due to their strict diet of pine needles, resins, and seeds, their bodies would shrivel up like mummies but become resistant to decomposition, preserving their remains even centuries after they completed the ritual. While Jujutsu Kaisen's Ryomen Sukuna probably didn't decide to atone for the mountain of bodies left in his wake by shaving his head and becoming a monk, some elements of the manga, particularly with the design of the cursed objects known as Sukuna's fingers, likely took inspiration from Sokushinbutsu. Though this origin story gives an intriguing look into the chaotic time of the Yamato period, it also isn't the only possible explanation. Another theory states that the Nihon Shoki's Sukuna is a representation of the two brothers Uesu no Mikoto and Usu no Mikoto. Interestingly, Uesu and Usu were considered twin brothers in the Kojiki, the oldest surviving historical document of Japan. However, after Uesu the elder began to act out, their father asked Usu if he could teach his twin some manners. In the legend, Uesu allegedly gave a thumbs up to Daddy Dearest, calmly sat his brother down, then proceeded to cut off his limbs and dispose of him in an unmarked location. This gruesome story might even be the inspiration not only for Ryomen Sukuna's ruthless nature but also his absurd strength in Jujutsu Kaisen, as Maki and Mai revealed that twins are perceived as a singular being in terms of cursed energy, meaning the death of one twin would further strengthen the surviving sibling. One popular fan theory proposes that Ryomen Sukuna might have eaten his twin in the womb, which is why he gained such immense power along with extra appendages, not to mention his unnerving taste for human flesh. That said, the perks of fratricide aside, very little about Ryomen Sukuna's backstory has been revealed in the manga, so fans ought to take this theory with a bucket of salt.